Hi and welcome to the first knitting update of 2026. My name is Luisa, but everyone calls me Lu, and we have a lot to talk about today. So much has happened since my last knitting update, which was right before the holidays, and on Christmas Day, I finished my last work in progress of 2025. It was my favorite sweater of the entire year, and I can't wait to show you to you guys today. Since I don't like to ring the new year with ongoing projects instead of casting on a new one, I decided to work on some well overdue issues I had with older sweaters, and on January 1st I cast on 3 new projects. So on today's agenda I have 3 new cast-ons, one finished object, and a quick update on an older sweater. And let's jump right in with my finished object because I'm too excited to talk about anything else first. And I finished my Violeta Pullover by Claudia Quintanilla. The yarn I chose for this project was a Fil-Colana combo. I've paired their sock base, which is called Fil-Colana Arveta, with their mohair, which is called Tilia. My Arveta colorway is number 286, Red Clover. This is a gorgeous medium purple, I would say, and I've paired it with Fil-Colana Tilia in the colorway 286 Purple. This is more like a light purple, and this is the combo I had. I absolutely loved these two colors and yarns together. The fabric it created is amazing. I talked about this in my Everything I Need to video I released last week, but this fabric is so squishy and soft, not only because of the lace panels and the cables, but even looking at the stockinette fabric here on the sleeves, it is so soft. I still haven't worn it, so I can't really say anything about how it feels next to skin. I'm very excited to see how this fabric will behave over time. I am expecting to wear this tomorrow, so I'm very excited about that because ever since I finished this project, it has been on my blocking mats drying for what feels like ages, because now that it's winter outside, my finished objects take like a week to dry in my blocking mats. So tomorrow will be my first real chance of wearing this. With blocking, this sweater grew like 10 centimeters width-wise. I was expecting some growth lengthwise also, but it didn't happen. I just got 10 extra centimeters when it was laying flat on my blocking mats. So in total, this sweater grew 20 centimeters in circumference. It makes sense because of the lace panels and the cables. There are a lot of cables on the side of the sweater. Let me hold the sleeve up so you can see the sides. It didn't grow anything in length, but that's okay. I made adjustments when I found that out, when I did a mid project block, and everything turned out just great in the end. The only modification I made to this pattern was a twisted rib accent. Instead of a regular 1x1 rib, I modified it to twisted rib. I just really like the look of it, the process of working a twisted rib, and I'm really happy I chose that little modification. I decided to bind off without one strand of mohair. Was my sleeve. Without one strand of mohair, you can't notice that I didn't use mohair to bind off. You can still see all the fluff from the previous rows, but it makes the entire process of doing an Italian bind off so much easier, just having to worry about one strand of yarn instead of two. I was worried a little bit about the color when I was working on the sweater before blocking, because I've seen some project pages on Ravelry. The color was flaring out quite a bit. Sometimes it was even standing vertically like this, but with the little adjustment I've made here on the color, playing around with some needle sizes, I think it turned out just great. I'm not seeing any issues with the color, at least so far. I don't know how it will behave over time, but so far so good. And I forgot to say, but I have a black tank top underneath the sweater, just because I think it makes seeing the lace panels a little bit easier. But that's it. This is my Violeta Pullover. This is my one and only raglan sweater of 2025. It's been a really long time since I've worked on a raglan sweater, and I absolutely love the fit of it. I want to work on more raglan sweaters in 2026. I plan on doing a video where I share all my 2026 knitting goals, some loose ideas, some more concrete plans and everything in the coming weeks. But for now, I know I want to work on more raglan sweaters because this fit is amazing. It's so easy to see if everything is looking as it should be when I try it on. It has minimal amount of stitches to pick up, which is a huge bonus because I don't like picking up stitches. And by the way, I have a terrible cold ever since I finished filming my Everything I Knit video. So if this video has a lot of editing, that's because I have a coughing fit every 2 minutes. It's terrible to talk for a long period of time. But talking about the sleeves, I don't even know where I was before my latest coughing fit. But talking about the sleeves, I really enjoyed the process of it. It is a stockinette stitch sleeve with just this little cable here in the middle, and I'm doing something wrong here. A cable going down the center of the sleeves. And I really like the final look of this sweater. I think a stockinette sleeve really matches the entire look of heavy textured body with a simple sleeve. I don't know, I just really like the look of it. When working on the charts, I didn't really need to follow the charts when I was working on the cables because it's pretty memorizable, it's a pretty easy repeat. But when working on the lace panels, I don't know how to fix mistakes in lace, so I'm very careful not to make any mistakes. But when I was working on it and following the charts, I used I used to use this Cocoa Knits. I think this is called a maker's board. You have to prop it open on your desk like a laptop, like a tablet, and it takes up a lot of space. It is convenient, it is practical, but it takes up a lot of space and I don't really like it. So when I was browsing through Instagram one day, I saw Kutova Kika's gift box. She made a little announcement for her gift box and she mentioned washi tapes for following charts. I've never thought of that, I don't know why, but until that moment I've never thought of using washi tapes. So I did that when I was following the charts here on the Violeta Pullover, and I liked that so much. It's so much more practical than this huge maker's board on my desk. I like to print out my patterns, so this washi tape idea was really good and I plan on keep on using it because I have an entire drawer of washi tapes. I have no idea why because I've never bought one, but someone gifted me like 50 washi tapes, so I think I am all set for the future when it comes to following charts. And since this is a finished object, I always like to talk about cost and how much yarn I've used. It is a new year, so I have a new notebook with me. And let's talk about how much yarn I've used for this project first. For my main yarn, this Colorwork Aveta, I've used 303 grams. The pattern calls for 400, but 400 equals to 4 skeins of 100 gram each. So I don't really know if the pattern really calls for 400 grams or just 4 skeins and a little bit less than 400. But anyway, I've used 303 grams. And when it comes to the mohair, I've used 143 grams. The pattern calls for 150. So kind of like the same thing because patterns usually include a 10% buffer. So I guess it's good. I didn't make any modifications to the pattern aside from the twisted rib accent, which is really good because now I have just a couple of balls of leftover from each yarn and I already have plans for it, but I'm still not ready to share them today. When it comes to cost, this project cost me 83 euros and 67 cents just for the yarn, and I've also paid for the pattern, which cost me 9 euros and 71 cents. So in total, the final cost for this project was 93 euros and 38 cents. I am pretty happy with the price point of this sweater because, like I said, this was my favorite sweater of the entire year, and I think I'm going to get a lot of wear out of this. But this is my Violeta Pullover, my last project of 2025. And before we talk about my 3 new cast-ons, let me just give you a quick update on another sweater of mine. Like I said, I worked on fixing some sleeve issues with this sweater right after I finished my Violeta Pullover. And this is the Arctic Light sweater by Veronika Lindberg. This is a all-over cable sweater, really lovely. It was one of my favorite projects of 2024. I think I finished this in 2024. Now I'm not so sure, but I think I'm right. I just added some short row shaping to the neck to get a better fit. My issue was with the sleeve length. Ever since I finished this sweater, I found out I really enjoy a longer sleeve, like what I have with this sweater I'm wearing today. I like to hold my sleeve like this, and this sleeve on my Arctic Light sweater was just too short to be able to do that. So I just frogged until here, added one pattern repeat, and redid the twisted rib. There's a little bit of hair, but you wouldn't be mine if you didn't have hair on it. But this is what I did. Now this sweater is perfect. I wore this over Christmas and it annoyed me so much, this shorter sleeve. So after finishing my Violeta Pullover, I couldn't wait any longer, and I finally fixed this little length issue. But now let's go to my 3 new cast-ons, and I think we should start with my Colorwork sweater because I'm really excited about that. And let me introduce you to my Robinia Sweater by Anne Ventzel. This is my first Colorwork sweater to start my Colorwork journey for 2026. I'm on a mission to finally get comfortable with Colorwork and also like working on Colorwork patterns. And this is one I've been eyeing for so many years, and I finally decided to cast it on, and I did on January 1st. If I'm being honest, this is actually my second Colorwork sweater, but the first one was, well, is because it still exists, but it ended up terrible. I made so many mistakes throughout the process, and I gifted it to my brother as a Christmas gift. I think back in 2022 or something. He still wears it, and it drives me insane because I can only see the mistakes every time he wears it. Now going back to my Robinia sweater, this pattern calls for so many strands of yarn held together. For the beige stripes, let's say, it's actually just one strand, and I'm using the code for yarn, which is this Isager Soft in the colorway E67. This is 56% alpaca and 44% cotton. This is a chain net construction, but this yarn is so fuzzy. Can you see the fuzz? This is amazing. I've never seen such a fuzzy yarn before. This is my first time working with this yarn, and I'm actually really liking it. It made the whole Colorwork experience a little bit more difficult, but we get to that in a minute. The code for yarn for the blue stripes, I'm just following one of the recommended yarns because it calls for 3 strands held together. The one I'm using according to the pattern is Isager Tweed, and this is colorway Navy. This, like the name suggests, navy color. What I like about this yarn is that the tweedy beads are also blue, sometimes white, but mainly blue, and I really like that. And I'm pairing with 2 yarns. The first one is Filcolana Saga. This is also my first time working with this yarn. This is 100% lamb's wool, and this is colorway 212. I'm almost certain the name of this colorway is Navy, but I could be wrong. And my last strand of yarn is Isager Alpaca 1, but this is colorway 100, which is also a navy shade. I wanted to do something different from the pattern photos and go with maybe a purple or maybe a rust color, But in 2026, I'm trying to lean away from my go-to colors, which are usually rust shades, oranges, pinks, and dark pinks, that is, and reds. So I decided to go with the same navy color, and I'm actually really happy with it. But as I was saying, I don't think it was the smartest decision to choose this pattern as the first one of my colorwork journey because of this yarn. This yarn is so fuzzy that is making the entire color management, yarn management that is, a whole lot harder than what it was supposed to be. I have almost zero experience with colorwork, so I don't really know how to hold two colors and work with them at the same time. I am a continental knitter, so I hold my yarn in my left hand. At the beginning, I was trying to do the same thing when working on the sweater and hold, let's call it a beige and a blue yarn in my index finger and tension the yarn like I do for any project I work on. It didn't work because of the fuzziness of this yarn. And then I tried a knitting thimble, this little guy here, to help tensioning my yarn. It was even worse, if that's even possible. But yeah, I couldn't make it work for the life of me. I think it's because of the fuzziness of this yarn, because every time I need to loosen my tension on my index finger to let the yarn flow through my fingers, the fuzziness of the beige yarn captures, let's say, my blue strands, and I lose the tension on the stitches on my needles. It's a whole mess. I can't make it work for the life of me. So now I'm just letting go of one strand, picking up the other, and trying to do some color management, yarn management in any way I can. I think it's working, but I would like to learn how to hold two colors in my left hand and knit continental as I usually do. But for this project at least, I can't do that. I think it's working out pretty great. It looks pretty even. My floats on the wrong side. I'm not catching any floats. I don't think it needs because of the fuzziness of this yarn. But it's working out just fine. I finished the yoke and I could have joined in the round before recording today's podcast, but I didn't because I wanted to do a meat project block. That's why it's hanging on some try-it-on tubing. My old and terrible try-it-on tubing. I need to invest on some decent tubing, but for now, this is what I have. I think it's pretty good. I'm not seeing any puckering of the strands on the wrong side, of the floats on the wrong side. So I'm pretty happy with that. The size seems to be working also. And I'm actually really enjoying the process. Because of the fuzziness of the beige yarn, I think I should have gone with a mohair on my blue stripes, but I was trying to bring the cost down of this project, so I decided to substitute the mohair strand for this Isagar alpaca. But this yarn doesn't have as much fuzz as mohair does. But at the time, I wasn't expecting such a fuzzy yarn on the beige stripe. I think if I turn it to the side, maybe you can see the fuzziness of the fabric, but I think it's blending in pretty well, especially after blocking. And I am glad I didn't go with a mohair, otherwise this project would be way too expensive. I don't think the color work is perfect, but maybe it's good enough. This pattern has a boat neck. I've seen some people complaining about how open this color is with the boat neck, but I'm actually pretty happy with the fit of the collar. Let me show you up close. I can't see if it's focusing, but I think it is. I don't think the color work is perfect, like I said, but I think it's good enough. And now let me show you my floats, because maybe you guys could give me some input and something I could improve in my colorwork knitting process. But this is what I have. What I'm doing as far as yarn management is I'm holding my blue yarn, my blue strands in my left hand continentally, and the beige yarn, the fuzzy yarn, I just drop it, or I grab it loosely with my right hand just to maintain a little bit of the tension. And then every time I need to switch colors, I just drop one color and pick up the other. But this is what I have so far. I'm ready to join front and back and start working in the round. And that's another reason why I don't think this was a smartest decision as far as first pattern for my colorwork journey, because up until now I was working this colorwork sweater flat, and I don't think it's as easy as knitting in the round, but so far so good, so I'm pretty happy with it. And this is my Robinia sweater so far. Now let's go to my second cast on, and I decided to work on a neck accessory. I chose the Solange Scarf, as I mentioned in my winter knitting plans video. I didn't realize this was written by the same designer, so this is also an Anne Ventzel pattern, and this is what I have so far. This is worked flat since it's a scarf, but it's a pretty long one. You work on it from tip to tip. You first do some increases to shape the first tip. I've just finished that. Now I'm working straight up until I'm ready to start my second tip. It hasn't been blocked yet, so it's curling a bit here to the inside, but I don't know how I can show you guys this project. Maybe if I do it like this, you can see some sort of ribbing situation going on, mixing knits and pearls, but I really like it. I really love the way the increases are worked into this pattern. I really like her writing style. It will be better to show you once this has been blocked, but so far this is what I have. This is the right side. Let me show you the wrong side, because I think I prefer the wrong side. I love this extra texture with the pearl bumps. It's just amazing. I love this texture. I'm so excited to wear this when it's still cold outside. But let me show you the yarn, because I'm talking way too much about this pattern and you guys don't know the yarns I'm using. I am knitting it out of BC Yarn Bio Shetland in the colorway 56. This is a really lovely green color, but it has some yellowy sections, like a tonal, I would say. Really lovely. I'm really enjoying this color, and I'm pairing it with a mossy green kind of mohair. This is Lana Grossa silk hair in the colorway 178. This is my first time working with this mohair, and I'm really enjoying it. I love the color. This is the combo I have. This mohair is toning everything down a little bit, but now that I can see the fabric, I don't think it even needed to tone everything down, because the color of this Bio Shetland is so gorgeous, and I think it suits my skin tone and my hair, my dark blonde hair. I think it looks good. I am really happy with it. This is a very simple pattern, just really easy to pick it up and put it down every time, and I'm really enjoying this process so far. I almost forgot to say, this pattern is written for a DK weight yarn plus one strand of mohair, and I'm knitting it out of fingering weight plus mohair. So I just added one set of increases when I was working on the tip to make sure I have the same width here for the main section of this shawl scarf, and it's working out just fine. I am loving it, and this is my Solange scarf. Now let's go to my last cast on, and I decided to work on the Afra Sweater by Irene Lin. This is I've been calling it satin sleeve. No, this is not a satin sleeve. This is a saddle shoulder construction. I loved her pattern when I worked on the Lyra tee. I loved her writing style and everything. So I'm really enjoying this one also. This has the same saddle shoulder construction as the Lyra tee that I worked on over the summer of 2025. And this is a V-neck construction design. I'm just about ready to start working in the round. So right now it's at that really awkward stage where I don't know how to show you this, but this is what I have so far. I'm knitting it out of Drops Flora, which is a yarn I've had in my stash for many months. I didn't know what to do with it, and I think it is a good idea for this Afra Sweater. This is colorway 07, a medium beige, and this yarn is made out of 65% wool, 35% alpaca. I really enjoy this. This is fingering weight. This pattern is written for 1 strand of DK weight. The code for yarn is Cardiff Cashmere Classic, but a lovely viewer commented on a video saying Cashmere Classic is more of a fingering weight than a DK weight yarn. So that made me even more confident to cast on using this Drops Flora, so that's what I did. I still have to block this to make sure I have a good gauge. I know I'm off gauge, I just know how off I am from the pattern gauge, but I'm needing size 6 to end up with a size that gives me around 10 centimeters of positive ease. But this is what I have. Let me show you up close. I know it's not much right now. These are the saddles on the shoulders. I've just started working on the sleeves here. And then hopefully today I will join in the round here. And then next episode will be so much easier to see how this thing looks like. I worked on a swatch before casting on this project just to make sure I could make it work with Drops Flora, and I have my swatch here blocked, ready to go and everything. I've worked on this maybe in the beginning of December or something like that, and I really like the fabric. The only problem is I didn't write down the needle size I used, so I don't know what to do with this swatch because yeah, I really like the fabric, but I don't know what needle size I used. So I decided to cast on with a 3.5 millimeter, which is the called for needle size, and we'll see the fabric it creates. I really like the fabric. Before blocking, I hope it is the same needle size I used for my swatch, and I guess we will find that out later on. But these are all the projects I've been working on over the last 3 or so weeks. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the podcast. Welcome to 2026 and to the channel if you're new. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I always love sharing my projects with you. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, give this video a like, and ring the bell for more cozy knitting content from yours truly. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!